And now, coming to you live from the City of Angels, Los Angeles, California, it's the Sheena Metal Experience with your host, Sheena Metal, only on KGRA Digital Broadcasting.
Hi, and welcome to the Sheena Metal Experience on KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. I'm your host, Sheena Metal. I'm a psychic medium. I'm an energetic healer. I'm an interfaith minister. I'm a 29-year talk radio host in Los Angeles and beyond. I'm a creative and a performing artist, and I come to you live from my home in Southern California that is on an Indian burial ground every Friday at 3 o'clock Pacific time. I am also a paranormal survivor, and this show is about spirituality. It's about creativity. It's about humanity. It's about passion. It's about service. It's about becoming and then maintaining being your best possible you in this big, beautiful world, and how you are inspiring others to do the same. And every week on the show, it may be my show. It is the Sheena Metal Experience after all, but it is always and forever, undoubtedly, your experience. My guest today is a wonderfully talented spiritual practitioner, good witch, and also a teacher, and now an author, and a content creator, and a very good friend. And it's wonderful to have you here. I can't wait to hear about her new book and all the exciting things she's been up to. Also produces her own independent television show and is hosting it and is wonderful. Please welcome the wonderful Melissa St. Hilaire to the show. How are you, my friend? It's good to see you.
I'm great. How are you?
Good. It's good to see your face. I haven't seen your face since COVID.
I know. It's been forever.
I mean, I see it on Instagram, but that doesn't really count.
Yeah, that's not the real world.
Did I miss anything when I introduced you? I probably missed 50 things.
Oh no, you got the good stuff, the important stuff.
Did I get all the good stuff? Okay.
You did.
When I introduce you as a witch, how do you like? What term do you use? I like white witch myself, but everybody likes something different. So, what do you like?
I like wicked witch. No, I'm just kidding. No. I just like witch. I don't really like to add any more labels than that, because I find that, first of all, I like the mystery of just being a witch. What does that mean?
Right.
Sure. And what does it mean to other people? Sure. But also I don't really like to, I don't really like to label myself, but I suppose if I was going to label myself anything, it'd probably be nature witch, because that's Sure. Yeah. And that's the thing that I work with the most. I grew up in very, very rural Massachusetts. So, I was always in a cornfield or in a forest or picking strawberries or, something. I was always, or that we had a gaggle of cats. So I was always.
But you still have a gaggle of cats.
I do. I can't help myself.
I would have a gaggle of cats if I thought I had time for a gaggle of cats right now, and two, if I didn't have one cat that was so connected to me that I wonder if having another cat will change that. But I have had up to 4. At one point I had 4, a Pomeranian, which is really just a 5th cat, and a rabbit, and 2 rabbits and a guinea pig at one point.
Wow.
And a musician, which is also a full-time dependent. I ran a house with all those that relied on me. But you know what? My cat and I have such a really interesting celestial bond that I'm actually kind of glad there's not another person or another animal in the house with us.
I get that. I do. Right now I have 10 indoor cats. And
I'm coming over.
I know, right? I live in a cat cafe, basically.
I love it.
Even as I'm talking to you now, I've got one curled up in front of me over here, another one curled up over here. There might be one behind me on the right here.
I'm coming, and I'm bringing a bucket of Whiskas Temptations.
And additionally, I have 2 in the yard. It was just 1 in the yard. And then that one brought a little friend home who I think is an abandoned pet, because Actually, I think they're both abandoned pets because they're both fixed and super calm, super friendly. You know, the new one that just showed up will crawl right up and sit in my lap.
Oh, nice.
But I'm like, no more inside, guys. I've hit my limit.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I I used to think more was more. But if I wasn't so busy, I probably would still think that. We'll probably get a friend.
Yeah.
We're just the right one will come, right? I believe spirit sends you cats when you're
Yes.
supposed to have them.
I totally agree. And it's funny because I always seem to get sent cats right before something big happens.
Right, exactly.
You know, and this new one showed up, and it was really weird because like I just got the email that my book was going to come out, and then the new cat shows up. I'm like, well, of course.
Exactly, right? Yes. Yeah. So I'll tell you a weird thing. So I collect I love malachite because
Yes.
I think it looks like Ireland and I'm so Irish.
Yeah.
I collect little carved malachite animals. Every time I get a new cat, a malachite cat shows up that looks just like the cat. Is that the weirdest thing? So I have 6 little malachite cats that all look like the cats I've had.
That's
The
amazing.
weirdest thing. Yeah, it's just everything is so spiritual with a cat. The connection, the relationship, the coincidences. There's almost nothing earthly about a cat except the box.
It's so true. In fact, I was just before we hopped on, I was doing readings. That's what I usually do on Wednesdays.
Sure.
And I was in the middle of a reading, and I had a client who kept feeling like there was an entity around her, but it was being kind of tricksy and was hiding from me. And which doesn't usually happen. Usually I can sniff them out pretty quickly. You know what I mean? And so I'm sitting there going, I'm like, I've got my eyes closed. I'm like feeling my energy around. I feel like I'm getting something, but I'm not sure what it is. And then all of a sudden, 2 of my cats right in front of me went berserk.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, and then I got it from them. They sent me the message of like, they could sense the entity, and it was actually trying to come through the reading and into my space. So I had to shut everything down, do extra protections, but I was just astounded. I was like, oh, okay. Thanks, little guys. Like,
so I grew up in a very active Amityville kind of home outside of Baltimore. And, I mean, it was torturous. People go, I want to live in a haunted house. I'm like, not this one. When we moved here, we didn't know that this house sits on an Indian burial ground. Wow. So this house was also very active, but in a different way, but active. And so I never was ever in this house without somebody, one of my parents. And so when my mom passed and I inherited this house, I'm like, I'm not going to live in that house. That house on an Indian, I'm not living there alone. No, And I thought about different things, roommates, partners, different people I was going to live with. And then the time came that something had to be done. So during COVID, I moved in here to get it ready to remodel, to rent it. And then Cullen and I fell in love with it. And so we stayed. And I ward this place with brooms and selenite wands and towers and salt lamps. Like there's like 5 or 6 salt lamps in every room in this house. And I do a good job, but I can feel around the periphery. They're still there. But, you know, Cullen, sometimes he'll be on my lap and all of a sudden he'll be like, I'm like, no, honey, mommy doesn't want to know. And he looks at me like, you want to know what I saw? And I'm like, no. Mommy doesn't want to know. We keep that to ourselves. So the cats see everything, right? And they know everything.
They really do.
And they're eager to share.
They really are. And it's so funny because, like, you know, I remember years ago, I saw that movie with Keanu Reeves, was Constantine or something like that?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Right. And as part of he can travel between worlds, right? So he can travel into hell or whatever, you know. Sure. And I loved the whole bit about the fact that part of how he could get there was looking into the cat's eyes. Because I was like, of course you could.
Of course.
You know, that's what they do.
Yeah, exactly. And they talk a lot to you. So I'll tell you something interesting. So the youngest I ever had one was 5 months. All mine are adopted strays, but only 5 months. This one was 3 days when I got him. So he was so little that I didn't get like thoughts from him. I
Mhm.
would just like, he would push little emotions at me. Like I would just feel a little burst of love or a little burst of happiness or a little burst of I have to poop. Like there would just be like little emotions because he couldn't yet form thoughts. And
Yes.
people who think like animals don't think, they totally think,
Yeah.
because once he got to about 3 months old, then he started sending me little messages. And now he just like this. Now we don't even have to talk. All that we just at each other all the time.
Yeah.
But it was interesting because he was so little, because I don't have kids, so I was never around babies. So I didn't know what little things were. But it was so interesting that he would just push little tiny emotions at me.
Oh,
So beautiful, right?
that is so cute. And I've had a similar experience. So twice or 3 times now, I've had litters of kittens just be born in my yard. The
Sure.
pregnant feral cats just show up. They find me and have
Sure.
babies. And one of them, I mean, and they all have that same sort of quality, some more than others. But there was
Yes.
one time when and it was the same kind of thing. They were just days, more than days old because their eyes were open. But it was right after their eyes opened. So what's that, like a couple of weeks maybe?
Yeah.
And I'm sitting out in the backyard by my fire pit, just enjoying the, nature. And I glanced over and they had just opened their eyes. So they hadn't really like paid much attention to me at all. And I glanced over at them, and one of them, just one, had crawled out and looking right at me, walked right up to my foot and proceeded to crawl up my leg. And I'm just looking at it, and crawls all the way up and I kind of leaned back. She crawled all the way up to my chest and just sat here. And I was like, oh no. Oh, first of all, keeping this one.
Right.
And second of all, it was that same thing. She immediately was like, it's like she got immediately that she could give me information and that I would understand her. And we just sat and like looked at each other and had this entire little conversation without words.
I love that.
It was so beautiful. And I was like, oh, okay.
And they're very sweet. Like people that think that the cats aren't sweet, they're like, oh, cats don't care, or cats are just waiting for you to die so they can eat you. Cats have the sweetest little personalities, and they're so sensitive in the gentle little things that they say. When I'm sad, and it's been a year, this little guy, he'll just crawl up in my arms and just hang on to me. It's like he just knows. It's not like I'm sad, where's Colin? Like I'm not looking for him. But the next thing I know, he likes to be held like a baby with his little head here and his little chest here. He'll be like right up on me and he'll just cling. And I think cats are probably one of the most misunderstood creatures in the universe.
Oh, absolutely. And I feel like the thing about cats is they're very picky.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I feel like in my personal experience, most dogs, when I encounter most dogs, not all dogs, obviously, # not all dogs.
Right. Exactly.
But a lot of dogs, when I meet them, they want me to like them. They want to get to, you know what I mean? They're right in my face. But I feel like with cats, it's more like like, they're kind of like feel you out a little bit. They're like, let me sense you. And, sometimes it's instant. They just know, they're like, oh, I like your energy. Like we're best friends now. But other times they're not, they're not super sure. But then once they feel like they're comfortable, they feel safe, because that's key. They have to feel safe.
Right.
And then boom, their personality will come out and all that love and everything. And they do love us, and they are very, very sweet.
Yeah, I wish that more people were like cats. I wish that more people were less fake at the get-go.
Yes.
And showing you their true colors a month later or sometimes longer. I would rather something check me out and decide if it wants me around and then be honest and consistent afterwards than to be all up my ass and then a month later like crickets.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
I just think that people put on a lot of fakey because we almost feel like we're not allowed to decide if we want to be around someone.
I know. Isn't that strange? I feel like I was thinking about that earlier today, actually, because I was thinking about how much we repress ourselves or dim our shine or hide just to please other people or make other people comfortable or to fit in. And it's like, how life is not that long. I mean, yes, when you're when you're, in a moment and you're waiting for something, it feels like an eternity. But when you look back at your life, it's like, wow, that was a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
And I always feel bad when I meet people who aren't necessarily, not that we all have to like live authentically or whatever, but I wish that we would. I wish we could all totally just be our truth, whatever that is. I mean, obviously, if our truth is to harm someone, no.
Right.
There are lines.
Drowning puppies, please don't.
Right. Don't do that. Don't hurt anybody. But, as
Right.
long as you're not hurting anybody, you should be able to just, be yourself. And it's sad to me that, like, some people feel like they can't for whatever reason, whether it's family or work or.
I agree. Yeah. Or because we watch TV and we look at YouTube and we decide we have to be what other people are.
Right.
Instead of what we are. And I just never cared about that. I have this, I know this person, kind of a friend of a friend person, and, so obsessed with what's in, what's not in. Oh, we can't do that now because it was this long ago. And it's so funny because my best friend and I talk on the phone, and I was telling her the story. She's like, oh, I don't know if it's in, but my whole house is like Craftsman tiki. And I said, that's interesting. I don't know if it's in, but my whole house is like New Age Victorian. So right. I don't know what's in, but the whole idea of what you're supposed to be and how you're supposed to act has always kind of eluded me. But I find sometimes in relationships with people, I don't work with them in their life in any capacity because I'm not really hung up on this. How should I be changing myself to try to impress what I think the norm is,
Right. Oh, totally. Yeah. I've gotten in trouble for that, because
right. Yeah.
Like years ago when I first moved to LA, I worked as a seat filler. So I would go to like, various different award ceremonies and fancy dresses and just, fill a seat. And I talked to everybody because my whole thing was like, I don't care. Like, what is fame anyway? What is celebrity? It's you're still people, and at the end of the day.
Yes.
So I would just talk to people, and it would be so funny how, like, sometimes, various miscellaneous celebrities would just talk right back and be totally normal and human. But then others would be like, almost like, oh no, I can't talk to you. You're nobody. I can't talk to you. I have a reputation uphold or something like that. And it's like, no thanks. And then you get yelled at if you talk to the celebrities, and I was like,
I don't understand that. Yeah.
No, I'm like, this job isn't for me.
Yeah. I have never understood the don't make the eye contact or the don't. I never had any problem with the celebrities. With me, it was the publicists that were always acting like the celebrities were not people and acting so weird. And, well, why did you call my client? Because your client gave me their phone number and said, why don't you call me? Maybe I could do something. We could do this, or we could go to lunch, or, you know what I mean? It never occurred to me that was not allowed.
Right.
Like, oh, I thought people making friends are just people making friends.
Exactly. Yeah, I know, it's crazy.
Maybe some of that has to do with us being New Englanders. You know what I mean?
It probably is.
We're just so salt of the earth. Like, it never occurs to us that we're not just supposed to be friends with the neighbors.
I know, right? Yeah, I do. I think that's a very, because I being from Massachusetts, like we may not be the friendliest people that you will come across or what have you, but we're gonna be honest. We're gonna be blunt. We're gonna be, and we're gonna be real.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. And I just, but how did you avoid the Massachusetts accent?
Oh man, it comes back, did
you work to lose it? Because my best friend is from suburb of Boston, and she moved here when she was 13, and she's 3 years younger than me. So 1983. And man, she still calls me a fucking weirdo like 3 times a day. So but you don't seem to have any of that. You have a very You're very sophisticated and non-regional sounding.
Oh, well, thanks. Well, I have to say I worked really hard at it because when I went to college at Boston College.
Okay.
And I was, there's not a lot of Massachusetts people end up at Boston College. They get people from, they get a lot of people from all over the place. Yeah.
Yes, a lot of
places. And it's kind of limited how many, townies end up going there. And so, here I was, a total townie, and I had a wicked strong accent, and I went in there, and man, everybody made so much fun of me, to be totally honest. Like, I got
that's fantastic.
ridiculed like constantly because I had such a strong accent. So I was like, and then one person that I knew, I think she was from Indiana. I think it was that woman. I can't remember her name to save my life, but she said to me one day, she's like, Melissa, with your accent, it makes you sound a lot less smart than you are. Like,
oh my God.
I know.
That's just a jerk move.
I know. And I was like, but when you're young and impressionable and you're like, oh my gosh. And she's like, yeah. She's like, I really think your accent is going to hinder you in life. So, you should work to get rid of it.
I hate this woman. I'm not supposed to say hate, but I hate her.
I know. Because, I was young and I didn't know, I took her words as gospel.
Sure.
I worked my ass off at like trying to I would like study anchors and try to talk like a news anchor.
Interesting.
Okay. Right?
All right. Okay.
Most of them they've lost their accents. So they're good. It's a good place to study. And and eventually I just lost it. But I'll tell you, if I'm tired or if I've had a couple drinks, whoosh.
That's what I want.
Yeah.
I never did that with because I have this Connecticut accent that's, nothing. It's the accent other people study to have.
Yep.
But my voice used to be much lower. Where my voice naturally sits is much lower. And when I started because when I was an actor, I always played characters, so you didn't know it was me anyhow. Right. But when I started doing radio, someone suggested to me that my voice was very low, and apparently not the kind of sultry low it's supposed to be. So I started speaking like in this place.
Yeah.
And now I just kind of talk like this all the time for the most part. But I think my vocal cords probably changed because even my singing voice changed from talking up here all the time.
Yeah.
But they suggested I work to become a little more feminine. And I just think for the age that I am, that was just what they told you. You had to be a certain way. It was bad enough that I was fat and didn't look like Barbie. But then on top of it, the low voice, that's just too much. And the fact that I dress like I fell out of the LL Bean catalog, that was not okay. So, so I guess the voice was my compromise because it helped people to better relate to me if I seemed more like a girl. But you know what? These generations coming up now, they don't care.
They don't care.
They don't care. They don't care. They don't identify. They don't care about their sexuality, their gender. It changes from week to week. They decide who they are. And I think that's so great. And you see that rainbow of people, of young people in television projects and in films, which totally. I think is so wonderful.
Do you know, when I, used to go to college, I had this friend, his name was George Hahn, and apparently he's like famous now. He's on I think he's on a soap opera. So I haven't talked to him in years and years, but he was a friend way, way back then. And he used to have this thing. He would run around campus and he would run up to people and he would grab the label on the back of their shirt and go, "It's all about labels." And and we would have these little discussions where I would say to him, "But I hate labels, George. I hate labels. I don't want to have a label. I don't want to be gay or straight or male or female or any, you know what I mean?" I was like, I want no labels. I want to be able, I don't want to be feminine or masculine. I just want to be me. And sometimes I'm going to be dressed in LL Bean because I'm from Massachusetts. And that's how we dress there,
Exactly. Bring out the topsiders. Here we go.
Exactly. Or maybe I'm going to wear a sequin dress and the high heel shoes. I don't know, but you know what I mean? But it's like, I liked this idea of like just being able to I like the idea of gender fluid, but also anything fluid. You can just
regional fluidity as well.
Totally. I love that idea. And I don't like boxes. I don't like compartments. I don't like that. It feels, it's too strict for me. You know, I don't like conformity.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I'm the same way. And I don't like any of that either. And I couldn't agree with you more. And I think even in the psychic world, right? I think there is this expectation that we need to look like, we always have a stars and moons moo on and a stuffed owl pinned to our shoulder.
Right.
And not that we look like we fell out of the LL Bean catalog. I think if the job was to pick the psychic, nobody would pick me as the psychic based on looks. But I kind of love that because you know what? Not everybody has to look like, they fell out of the tent and they fell out of the Zoltar machine. It's important, I think, sometimes to represent what you do the way that you look, because you're going to relate to different kinds of people depending on who you are.
Oh, totally.
That stereotype of what we're all supposed to look like. I remember when I started talking about, being a witch, and I always say, when I say that, I always sort of use the disclaimer that I am not somebody who has studied witchcraft my whole life. I probably don't know as much about witchcraft. My mom died and I was cleaning out her office, which interestingly enough is this room. And she had all this stuff. And I was like, oh, and I called a friend and I said, I don't understand what any of this is. And she said, I think your mom was practicing a little bit. And I'm like, what? So I feel like I kind of inherited this legacy from her as I inherited her psychic gifts and everything else. But I think sometimes in the world of witchcraft, right, there is a lot of rules.
Yes.
Of what you have to be and who you are and what you're doing. And I'm like, man, seriously, I have a cat and I do spells and intentions to raise the vibration of the world. But I'm not claiming I know everything. Just like I'm a minister, but I do not have a degree in theology. I'm ordained, but I don't have a degree in theology.
Right.
I don't pretend to be who I'm not. But I also think there's room for anybody who takes an interest in something to do that thing. Because otherwise you're stopping yourself from being who you are organically.
Oh, totally. And, and the thing about like being either a psychic, or a witch, insofar as like presentation, I felt early on when I started. So, I've been dabbling in, well, I don't dabble now. Now I full blown practice. But when I was younger, I dabbled, like as a preteen, I dabbled in all of this stuff. And I didn't really have a voice. I didn't have like a, whatever, a look or an aesthetic. I didn't know, you know what I mean? I just existed.
Right.
And then for several years, when I first started to get back into this world, after trying my hand in filmmaking, and other industries, I did feel a pressure to sort of like be gothy. You know what I mean? Like, and I mean, I'm black now, but I also have color on. But like, I did feel that pressure of like, I have to be cool and and da 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 da. And like, I felt like a dork because my favorite band is U2 and U2 was decidedly not witchy. You know what I mean?
Right. Sure.
And like,
although isn't everything Irish a little bit witchy?
I mean, yeah. And honestly, I'm convinced that Bono is a medium.
Oh, sure.
Because he channels, like, when he's on stage, you can feel it. He is channeling something,
Sure, Of course. Yes. As all great artists do.
Totally. So, but like, I did feel that pressure early on. So I don't know, a few years ago, around about when the pandemic hit, I was like, you know what? I am so done trying to look a certain way. I just want to be myself. I just want to be comfortable. I'm done trying to impress people. You know what I mean? If I pack on 20 pounds or if I dress however, like, I don't care, like, whatever. I just want to be happy and help people and just do good in the world. And so when it came time for me to shoot my web series, Secrets of the Craft, I was like, I'm not going to go in a gothy outfit. I am going to wear like what I would normally wear, which would be, ripped jeans, my docs, a t-shirt, and a flannel shirt. You know what I mean? And you're going to take it like, I don't, in my little flannel shirt, I don't look like a typical psychic, but I didn't want to look like a typical psychic or witch. I wanted to just be me. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes.
So I'm having kind of fun now where I'm like finding that space where I'm allowed to just be who I am. I don't have to try to mirror what others think I should be. And it's so freaking freeing, you know?
Yes.
Because also early on when I started practicing witchcraft, I had other witches try to tell me how to practice my craft. Like,
Yep.
and I don't mean like, it's one thing to go to a teacher to learn. Obviously, they're going to tell you how to do a thing because you're going to them for, you know, expertise, or if you find a mentor to help you or what have you. But I'm talking just regular people, peers who, you know, would see how I was doing something and just decide to tell me, oh, you're doing that wrong. You shouldn't do that way. Well, but it works for me. So if my way works for me, why should I not do my way and do your way that doesn't work for me?
Right. Yes. And and you have to be you. You know, I remember once I did a pilot for a TV show, and I'm sitting on a round table with, you know, 10 other psychics, and they all look like, you know, they're the extras in the Stevie Nicks video. And and I look like I just are taking my lunch break from teaching at Yale. And I said to the producer, like, is it okay that I look like this? And she said, oh, absolutely, because this is what makes you you. Like, this is, and it's funny because my clients always tease me, not only because of how I look, but also because of the practicality of the advice I give.
Right.
The messages, they always say that I tap into the Pepperidge Farm gods, which I think is hysterical, that I'm like the Pepperidge Farm psychic. But, you know, but I'm an Irish girl from Connecticut, and I deliver messages like that. I mean, that's who I am. Like, you're not going to get all like, woo, for me, which is funny because you know me because we're buddies. I'm probably the most woo-woo person that ever lived.
Right.
But I don't present in this Glinda the Good Witch kind of fashion when I speak.
Yeah.
Because for me, the universe is very linear, very direct, very loving, but very practical, almost like we talk about quantum physics, right? There is a physics to the way the universe works. Yes. And there's not all the hesitation, and there's not emotion and punishment. I mean, it's a reflection of how you act. You ask for answers and you get them. You act away, and the universe responds in kind to how you acted. For me, it's all really beautiful.
Oh,
but
totally.
I think people think there's something they're supposed to expect from a psychic. And I think you have to stay open-minded and find the practitioners that work for you, the ones that resonate with you. And if someone doesn't resonate with you, then guess what? There's somebody out there who will. But don't think you have to be or be into a certain kind of thing in order to, you know, people always say, well, when you go do readings, do you bring your crystal ball? Well, no, I don't bring a crystal ball. But let me tell you something. I got like 20 crystal balls in this house. Like, I love a crystal ball. My foyer is like a shrine to crystal balls. But I don't like carry it everywhere with me. And like, and the owl and the other eye. Here we come. I got the owl and the cat's between my legs, and I got the ball over here. Like, it's not. It doesn't have to be. You know what I mean?
It does. So I have to show you something though. It's really funny though, because like I'm the same way. Like I don't have to have all that stuff, but sometimes I just like to for whatever reason.
Yeah, sure.
So I have to show you the little army that I have. I've got like I don't have a crystal ball, but I've got this, which you know represents like the ether and astral plane and stuff like that.
That's amazing.
And then I have this little army of skulls lined up with me. Nice. And so, you know, just to hang out and then of course I have my Lemurian crystal because I love it.
Oh, beautiful. Oh no, I got it all right here. I got my selenite wand with the elephant. Ooh, it's all right here. Here's Ganesh to hold the incense. Like I got all of it. But I don't
need it.
I don't need to bring it to you to prove to you how psychic I am.
Right.
And
exactly.
Because that's not where it all comes from. You know?
It's from source.
It's a channel. It's like cards, right? Cards and tools and divination tools are great.
Love them.
But I always want to know, what do you have when all that stuff is gone?
Well, exactly. And that's why, whenever I teach people like how to do this stuff, so many people, they want to know, they want to know about dowsing rods and pendulums and tarot and whatever. And I'm like, no, first we start with meditation.
Yes.
First we start with no tools, with nothing, just you and quiet.
Yes.
And it's because if you can, that's all you need. That's all you need.
Yes. Yeah. All you need is you and another person, and you're just together. It doesn't have to be in person. It doesn't have to be on the phone. It can be through text. It can be through Messenger. Yep. You can get messages from anywhere, and you can pass them to anyone or as many people, right? One person, 1,000 people, whoever's there. That's kind of the beautiful thing about universe, is that, and
it can be
allowed to, I'm sorry.
It can be past, present, future. It's not relegated to time, distance, nothing.
Right. No. And also, I don't know about you, but when I'm on the radio, when I'm on camera, when I'm doing my spiritual service once a month, sometimes if I'm at a party and people are gathered around me, because that's what they do, it's all my ministry. Like, it's all messages that I'm passing on from spirit. A one-on-one, a group of people, a workshop, it doesn't matter. A panel, it's all the same thing. We're here to give messages, and they come when they come, and we pass them from spirit, and however they come is good.
Totally, exactly. Yes. And it's funny too, because like when I, was still dabbling, but hadn't really taken this stuff seriously yet. So like half a lifetime ago, I remember I went to visit my dad in Florida, and I went to this, like, I guess it was a garden club or something. They're all retired, so they all have like gardening clubs and bicycling clubs or whatever. And so I went to one of them, and I was just kind of hanging back because I didn't really know anybody there. And this woman walks up to me, and she looks at me, and she looks me up and down, and she's like, "Are you a witch?" And I'm like,
"Oh,
yeah." I'm like, "Oh, yes, and I'm looking at myself like, how I'm not wearing a sign, And she said she just had a feeling, and she goes, "Do you have any abilities?" And I looked at her for a second, because I was like, "What are you talking about?" And she's like, because she's like, "All witches, every witch has their ability; they can do things." And she's like, "What's yours? What's your ability?" And without even thinking, I just popped out of my mouth. And at this point in my life, I hadn't called myself a psychic medium. I hadn't, taken that dive yet. But I just popped out of my mouth, and I said, "I see dead people." It just, it just came out. And I was like, "Oh, yeah." I was like, "Oh, did that just leapt from my lips?"
Yeah.
And then she's like, "Oh, cool. Do you see anyone around me now?" And I was like, and I just kind of looked at her. Here I am. I'm not prepared. I haven't done any ritual to set myself up. I don't have any crystals. I'm just me, And I look around her, and I'm like, "I do, but the spirit that I'm seeing, it's very strange, because she's just white from head to toe." And at that time, because I even though I had seen many spirits and experienced them, I didn't really have the knowledge. Like, so I didn't know, like, if I saw a white figure, is that how they appear? I don't know. So I'm just like, I see this weird figure. She's just totally white from head to toe. And the woman, she starts crying, and she goes, "Oh my God, that's my aunt. She just passed, and she was albino."
Oh, wow. Wow.
And I was like,
"There you go.
What?"
There you go. Right. It's mind-blowing to us. That's what I love about it, is it never gets old.
It never gets old.
It's fun just to live the life. It never gets old, and I never get sick of, like, I just will, like, sometimes go, "Oh, look, I got a new Buddha head at the Cost Plus World Market." And I'm so excited. Like, I never get sick of being in the environment, being around the stuff. Like, to me, all of it is just endlessly fascinating.
Oh, totally. And I love, like, I remember I had a conversation with a friend years ago when I first was offered the chance to do public readings. And it was really scary for me, because I'd done private, I'd done readings for friends, people I know, private ones. I didn't even charge. People would give me money, but I didn't charge. And so this is the first time I was, like, in public getting paid to do this. And I was losing my mind. And And she said to me, she's like, well, if you're so nervous, just don't do it then. And I was like, but I want to do it. And she's like, yeah, but you're freaking out and you don't know what to do. Because they also had asked me, they're like, what kind of mode of divination would you like to do? They're like, do you want to do tarot? Do you want to do pendulum? Like, what do you want? And I was like, I don't know what. I was like, I don't know. I don't know what to do. I kind of just want to do. And at that time, I wish that I had known to say medium back then, because it would have been so much easier. Yes. But I was like, I don't know. I'm just psychic. Like, I just get stuff. I don't really need, I mean, I
just want to get stuff, man. Get stuff and pass it on.
Pass it on. I'm like, I don't really need a tool. I'll use a tool. I like them. They're fun. They help if I'm stuck. But honestly, they kind of get in my way of the flow, you know?
Sure.
And so I was sitting there trying to figure it out, racking my brain. And she's like, well, why do you want to give readings anyway? And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, man, I hate listening to people talk about their problems. And I was like,
you're in the wrong business, baby.
I know. And I was like, what? I was like, you're kidding me? I love that. I'm like, I want to hear every dream you've ever had. I want to hear your love life. I want to hear about your career. I want to hear how, you know, your spiritual path. I love just listening to people and like hearing whether it's good or bad, everything that's going on in their life. And then as I'm listening, that's when I get my, you know what I mean? I'll get my hits and I share it. And it's so funny because all of my clients are like, your readings are more like therapy than anything else.
But that's good. I hear the same thing, but that's good, right? Because that's part of it. Because my mother was a therapist and taught emotionally disturbed kids, but she was also an not out of the closet psychic. And man, she was healing people with spiritual messages on the down low.
It's amazing.
It's all the same. I mean, I think every really good therapist should also be using their intuitive gifts as well.
I totally agree.
So before we run out of time, I want to know all about the book, because I'm worried we'll just keep talking and then we won't talk about the book.
We will. I know. I'm looking at the time like, it's 4. Okay. So yeah. So gosh, how do I even get started? So, was that 2 years ago? I can't even remember now when it started, or was it last year? Any which way around. It was Friday the 13th in May, and I was offered a book deal. It was with Callisto Media, and the idea, or Callisto, I can't remember if it's Callisto Media or Callisto, but it's just Callisto, Callisto. And they said they were looking for a medium to help them they wanted to put out a book on how to basically identify and interpret signs from the afterlife. And I was like, okay. Yeah, I was like, are you kidding? I'm like, I'm totally up for this. So they interviewed me, and, you know, they had to make sure I was a writer. So I had to do I had to submit a writing sample and everything, but they loved it. And they took me on, I signed the deal, wrote the book, and then it was canceled last year. And
Callisto Media was canceled, or your book was canceled?
My book, all of their books were canceled last year. They canceled everything. Yeah, there was when the tech bubble burst, and
oh no.
Yeah, so there was a rippling effect that went into the publishing world. So everything got shut down, and I kind of fell into a little despair because I worked my butt off on this, and so the book. At the time, it was called Essential Signs from the Afterlife. Now it's been changed. Now it's 30 Real Signs from the Afterlife.
Okay.
Changed by the publisher. But the funny thing is during that whole time, as sad as I was, my guides kept saying, and very specifically, I have a friend named Amy who's on this. I think you've met Amy in our seances.
Absolutely, yes.
Always comes through. So my good friend Amy Wallace, she is constantly. I did all these automatic writing sessions with her.
Oh, yeah.
And she kept saying, don't worry. We did this. We did this on this side. The book isn't meant to come out now. It's meant to come out later. And there's going to be other factors involved. And she had been published by Simon & Schuster. And she kept saying, the book is going to come out again, but it's going to be somehow tied to Simon & Schuster. And I was like, even when I can give readings for other people and be accurate, sometimes it's hard to believe your own readings for yourself.
Absolutely.
And so I was like, I don't know. I mean, I'll work on other things. So that's why I ended up doing Secrets of the Craft and then joining the Spirit Realm Network, because I was like, I got busy myself. So anyway, on Friday the 13th in October, I get an email from the publisher and they're like, guess what? Your book is coming out. And I was like, oh my God, like lost my mind. And they said, yeah, they're like, well, you know, we reformatted it a little bit. So which is kind of cool because originally the way the book was set up was the first part was kind of a how-to. Like I talk about what are spirit guides? How do you even sense spirit in the first place?
Sure.
What is this role of spirit in history? You know, like, you know, how important is the afterlife and other traditions? And I give little things about, you know, how to make contact. I talk about the clairs and how we receive information, and auras and how you send out information.
Beautiful.
I give a how-to on how to do a seance, because when I was coming up, I read every book I could find, and not a single book that I looked at had just like a checklist of these are the steps that you take to perform a seance. They would give bits and pieces, but nothing super clear. And so I was like, I want to create something that is just easy and simple, something perfect for beginners.
I love that.
Boom, boom, boom. This is what you do. This is how you get started. So that's the whole first part of the book. And then I also have a little guided meditation, and I've got a whole thing in there. So then the second half of the book is references. So it's all like, you know, if you receive a spirit message and it's a butterfly, what does that mean? How does that work? And one of the things that I added, though, because even though I did the research and I included, you know, historical accounts of what these different symbols mean, I also included my own interpretation of what these different symbols mean. But I also made sure to say, but don't take my word for it, and don't take history's word for it. You've got to make your own spirit language, you know? So
Right.
When you see a butterfly, you know, check in with what I've written to see if that speaks to you, but only use it as a launch pad for your own interpretation.
Right.
The cool thing is now the new version of the book, they've included journal pages so you can make notes. And I love that, because that just makes it more interactive and useful. And, you know, so I'm super psyched for it to come up. But here's the funny thing. When they wrote to me, they said that Penguin Random House, their imprint source books are the ones who are going to be, I guess, marketing the book. And I had heard that when Callisto canceled all their books, that half of the books went to Penguin Random House and some went to Simon & Schuster or some. I wasn't really sure, because I'm not in publish. I wasn't really used to publishing. So I wasn't really sure like what all these different things meant. Like some bought titles, the other one got publishing assets, and that's where the distribution would be or something. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm like, you know, my Amy on the other side, she told me Simon & Schuster, but it's Penguin Random House. So that's okay. You know, they can't, at least it's going to be published. So they can't be always right about everything. And then one day I just had this funny feeling, even though I hadn't heard from the publisher, I had this funny feeling that the book was out. So I hopped online, I Googled my name and the name of the book. And the first thing that comes up, simonandschuster.com.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And there's my name in my book.
And that's all you need, right? Because then that sets you up, and they'll take care of the promotion, and it's a lot easier. I mean, it's self-publishing is lovely that's an opportunity, but to have Simon & Schuster behind you is amazing.
It's a gift. It's such a gift. And I'm just, every day I'm like, thank you, Amy, you know, thank you, spirits, because, you know, it feels amazing. And I'm just psyched to get the book into the hands of my clients and my students and whoever else that wants to read it. Because my whole goal is like, as much as I do love giving readings, you don't really need a medium to talk to spirits. You can talk to spirits yourself. And I truly believe that every single person that exists on this planet has the ability to at least talk to their own spirits. Maybe it's harder to talk to someone else's spirits. Maybe it's harder to do what we do, where we call in other people's spirits to give messages.
Right.
But at its core, we can all hear our friends and family.
Absolutely. And our spirit guides.
And our guides and our pets, you know.
And our pets, living and dead, our pets.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's so beautiful. I'm so happy for you. What a gift. And how are you doing with the show? I mean, is the first season out?
Yep. The whole first season's out. I've got 5 episodes. There were supposed to be 6 episodes, But sadly, the person I was going to interview for the final episode passed on.
Oh.
Unexpectedly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rework that and create sort of a tribute to her. So it'll be sort of like a bonus episode, maybe twice as long, something like that. But right now, the full first season is out, all 5 episodes, and I'm getting really good feedback on it. So
awesome!
I'm
so awesome.
Yeah, so it's on. You can find it on Dead Air Full Spectrum. Okay. And if you just go to YouTube and type Dead Air Full Spectrum Secrets of the Craft, you should be able to find it. You can also go to AmericanWitch13.com and find it there. Beautiful.
And are you going to do a second season?
I'm planning to. Yeah. I just right now my schedule is so full because the book just, like it's threw a little wrench in my game plan, but
a good wrench.
A good wrench, but the goal is to shoot 5 to 6 episodes next year. So I'm hoping that you'll be one of my guests.
I'm in. I would come down to the beach and come to my spiritual oasis, and we'll do it here.
Yes, that would be awesome. I would love to do that.
Yes, because there is something extremely spiritual and also extremely witchy about the ocean.
Oh, absolutely. It's that energy, and the water.
And coming back here to my mother's home with all of her energy here and doing all of my shows at her desk. I mean, that legacy of her legacy that got passed to me. You can come and be in the secret witch room where I was like, what is this? And why does she have this cauldron? And what are these dragon blood beads for? I mean, I was just, because my mom and I told each other everything. Like, I thought I knew everything about her.
Right. I feel, and it's funny because as soon as you sat down and we saw each other, I felt an energy right next to you.
Oh yeah.
Hanging out. And I was wondering if it was your mom. So it makes perfect sense.
Always. Yeah. Well, she was always my co-collaborator, and she still is, and nothing has changed. Well, a couple things have changed, but for the most part, it's still the same relationship, and people need to know that's possible, right? You are wonderful, my friend. Where can people find you online?
You can find me. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all American Witch 13.
Wonderful. And come back and do this again. I would love it.
I would love to. Thank you.
And congrats with the book, and it's good to see your face, and I hope to see you in person soon.
Yes. Thank you.
I would love that. If you missed any of those links, you can find me at SheenaMetalSpiritual.com. SheenaMetalSpiritual.com. Of course, you can also go to 818-437-0886 and send me a text message, and find me everywhere on social media at Sheena Metal. Until I see you next time, seek peace, live in love, lead with kindness, embrace unity, always work to raise your vibration, and know that you are loved and you are loved, and you're sure loved by me. I'm Sheena Metal. This is the Sheena Metal Experience on KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network, and I'll see you next week, every Friday at 3 p.m. See you here.